FieldWatch leads the world in online brand protection and compliance monitoring. It scrubs the entire internet looking for any content that could harm your company in order to bring it to your attention for immediate action and remediation. With our powerful platform, your team can immediately address any violations in order to get ahead of regulators and avoid brand risks. To learn more about FieldWatch, log on to momofactor.com and schedule a demo with our team today. Hi everyone, and welcome to MomoTalks, your exclusive podcast for expert insights from key players in the direct selling industry.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to MomoTalks, the podcast where we highlight the people, ideas, and innovations shaping the future of social selling. I'm Jerilyn Taylor Passey, and I'll be your guide as we keep the momentum going forward. Today we get to sit down with Brad Pace. He's the Vice President of Regulatory and Compliance at AdvoCare. Brad, I'm so glad you could be here with us today.
Yeah, super happy to be here. I love this stuff. I love this topic. So yeah, I can talk about it all day.
Great. We're super excited too. I know you're relatively new to AdvoCare, but what inspired you to join AdvoCare, and what was your journey like stepping into your new role?
It's been a 20 to 25 year journey getting to this spot. AdvoCare is very interesting, but it kind of began with a family business. It was a little CPG company where we made popsicles. They still do it today. I'm not there because family business is hard. But I'm super happy for my dad's success and
How
all
about
that.
that?
But yeah, that was my first taste in quality and manufacturing, and then I moved on into actually to become a personal trainer. I had
Mhm.
an exercise physiology master's degree, and I took a job at an MLM company and just was kind of pulled out of that role because there was a need for regulatory compliance and label compliance. So I kind of got my education and rose the ranks there and ended up running that function for many years. Um, but the thing that's interesting about AdvoCare, um, they had a transition. They transitioned a bit with
Yeah,
from an MLM to a kind of a single level direct selling. And then they also have this budding, growing CPG retail element. And it's just really fun to be a part of that shift. It's a major shift. So I looked at that and thought, okay, the marketing is very different. When you're putting together marketing for distributors
mhm,
or CPG, it's very different. So
right. So it's kind of a trailblazing path for you with this. That is
yes.
something I had not ever thought about before, with it being sort of a hybrid type company going forward. But um, I forgot about your background in fitness. I know you mentioned that to me before, but it still kind of works out because it's a health and wellness company.
Mhm.
And I know they have a lot of core values that you probably agree with. How do you see those values come to life in day-to-day work?
It was nice to have that background because I care. I care about wellness. I care about the claims. I care about the efficacy and the integrity of the claims. It's something that I was already familiar with before I went into regulatory compliance, nutrition, fitness, all the physiology behind it. So I I find that like AdvoCare, we push like curiosity, hustle. Our CEO really leads that charge. She actually lives it. It's part of her life. And it does bleed through because it's a smaller group. So the culture, it's easy to maintain that culture through that example that she sets, that Christina sets. Um, and so it's nice because it aligns for me. I like it. It's very authentic. They push integrity. They listen to the regulatory advice and counsel that's given, and it's real. Like they really want to help people and do a good job with their products. And it's not just to make a buck and move on.
Exactly. Yeah, I love that. It's nice when your mission and your values align with where you're working. I
Mhm.
can 100% agree and understand with that. Being in legal and compliance myself within the industry, it's so important, and you really just want people to be successful.
Yeah.
Um, especially with your wellness backgrounds. That's so interesting how people can come from completely different backgrounds, land in legal and compliance, but still have that connection. So, I would say things are meant to be. Um, and with that, there's a lot of perspective. So what do you think makes AdvoCare stand out in health and wellness compared to other companies?
So this is going to be a very nuanced answer.
I understand that.
Um,
Yeah.
you have a lot of science heavy messaging that gets into a lot of MLMs. It's very common. Very,
Mhm.
it's good messaging. It's just you need a freaking degree to be able to understand what the claim is.
Yeah.
It was fine for me. Like I get it. That's fascinating when we're talking about, cells and different processes at the cellular level and how we're trying to manipulate and promote those things and support those things. But the average consumer doesn't care, to be honest. That's just my bold statement, opinion. They want to know what does this product do for me? What does it help? And how's it going to help me? What if I'm tired, is this going to make me not tired?
Right.
If
Straight to
I'm
the point.
Yeah. So um I really I really think AdvoCare does a great job of understanding the customer. And everyone says that, right? You get into meetings and strategy sessions and like, oh, what does this mean? And there's a lot of money thrown at it in positions, but AdvoCare, it kind of is more well understood because it's a small group, has more of a startup type feel. We
Mhm.
understand our customer. We understand the benefits. I have a great cohort in marketing, or a great peer, sorry, that is like he understands that. So we really the messaging over the last year especially has really been on point. And I've been able to see from start to finish, it's the same message, whether you're doing a text, an email, the shopping cart, the label, it all goes together instead of science heavy stuff that you're trying to give to a distributor so that they can sell your product.
Right.
So, but yet we still kind of have some of those distributors on kind of a single layer. So it's a line to walk.
Yeah. So that's interesting you're saying that because I feel like a lot of distributors don't know how things work at a molecular level. So just keeping
Yeah.
it simple, straight to the point, and then hearing about how you work directly with your marketing team, that's so important with all the companies, as you know, and having that dynamic where you're working together instead of fighting at each other. I know sometimes compliance can be, a dirty word or hard to or daunting. So it's great that you guys are working together to help keep that path moving forward for AdvoCare. I really love that. I wish everybody could do that. Um, so a little advice and insights from you for others working in legal and compliance, especially in direct sales or consumer goods. I know AdvoCare is a little bit of a different beast. What advice would you give to stay ahead of regulatory changes and maintain trust with both customers and the field, which is hard
Yeah,
sometimes?
it kind of ties into the relationship with marketing. So how do you maintain and build trust with your consumers with the field? I've worked in both spaces, and honestly, the regulatory seat and the regulatory compliance seat, it doesn't really shift much. Your goal is the same, but here's where it gets interesting. Whether you're working with marketing, serving an internal client, or whether you are trying to work with the field or the consumer, people want, from my advice from a regulatory seat, is to be a support and more of a service oriented person. So again, I'm gonna I'm going to throw down a little bit of a stereotype, but a lawyer, what do you get, right? Lawyers are meant to tell you yes or no and keep you as safe as possible. So you get a lot of lawyers into this space, and that's kind of the feel and the flavor that you get. Then a marketing person generally comes in and says, I don't like that. It's too rigid, and the way you're speaking to me isn't my language.
Yeah.
So if you're a regulatory person, understand who you are, embrace it. I think I'm a fairly quirky person, and I think that's great. I like it. I own it. Um, and I bring it to work with me every day.
Yeah.
So when I have a conversation with anyone, internal, external, my goal is to take this really awkward regulation, dumb it down to, how I could have understood it at a base level, and speak to someone that doesn't spend all day in the Code of Federal Regulations
Right.
and put it in
Yeah.
layman's terms. And then also, if you are really good, you can play in that analytical side and the creative side. So you take a claim and you can mold it and give options for, hey, maybe you can't say this, what you've got on the packaging proof right now. Maybe you could say one of these three things. Do you like one? So there's some creativity there. I think it's an artful skill set. It's not something that, and again, no discredit to lawyers, but they're trained, that's trained out of them in school. They're not trained to think that way.
If you go to a legal and compliance meeting or coalition per se, you can walk in the room and feel it's very different from any other outside events that are like sales or marketing
Mhm.
affiliated. So it's definitely a vibe that I can see could be a little off-putting or scary. So getting that dynamic right again is going to be, I love that approach that you're mentioning, is just trying to work together with them and help them to understand how it's important. And I love the idea of giving them options for social posts. I think there's apps for that, so options of which direction they want to go. If they want to go in a more engaging direction, or if they want to go in a more science-driven direction, just showing them how to do it in the right way. Absolutely love that.
The other thing that I would say that's super important that most people don't figure out, or they figure out too late, because you only have one shot at being impressive to your counterpart in marketing or your CEO or legal or whatever. Um, do not say no or yes. Do not. It is my opinion that in regulatory, you are a counselor, you give very good information, and you inform. It is other people's prerogative, the risk or decision making they want to take, as long as they understand what they're doing. So I'm lucky because if I say, hey, this is not quite fitting into the regulations, AdvoCare is like, oh, well, what should we change it to so that we're compliant? That's great. It doesn't always happen that way. A lot of groups back and forth will say no, or they'll question the regulatory person, or they'll go above their head, around through the side door to get the answer they want. So the way to
Mhm.
get around that is providing a kind of like a temperature. So maybe you have a claim that's a little off. Maybe it's medium risk, maybe it's high, maybe it's low. Inform them. If you say this is low risk, you know, well, what does that mean? What's the impact of that? Oh, it means that, it raises the temperature of the overall of the portfolio on all the products, all the claims, and only the regulatory person has a feel for that. But you tell them the impact, you tell them the risk, low, medium, high, or one, two, three, whatever. And then this leader can make a choice. I want
Mhm.
to walk that path, or I don't. And I think
Right,
that's
giving them
very powerful.
the tools and resources to succeed.
Yeah.
It sounds like such a psychology therapist factor. You sure you didn't have a background in psychology instead of fitness? Because it's very much kind of their process, right? So, and that's kind of with everything's psychological in a sense, especially marketing. So, I love that approach. So Thank you for sharing that. I hadn't heard that before. And I do want to get one last question from you. What's one leadership lesson that stayed with you throughout your journey and continues to guide your decisions? Something that could have happened 20 years ago, something that could have happened yesterday.
Yeah, I've got a lot. Because there's a lot of people, but I have to tell you, by the way, I have multiple degrees. I just couldn't stop going to school, and I actually do have a performance psychology degree. It was for
There
like
it is.
people that wanted to help Tiger Woods swing better or whatever. Or mine was how do I get people to eat the banana instead of the Big Mac?
Oh my goodness.
So
You're a
like
genius.
I love this. I love that stuff. I
I
love,
could, I, I knew it.
but
It's interesting.
so I'm in like a natural empath. So when I see something in a leader um that I like, I try and model it, knowing that I might never get there, but I want to model it. So a leadership, you asked a leadership lesson.
A leadership lesson. Mhm.
I think the older I get, the more roles that I have, the only thing that's lasting and stays are the connections with people. That can be a connection with someone that works for you, a peer, a boss, or a customer. Um, and there was one person, and I only, let me think here. Yeah, I can do this. I can name a name because it's safe.
Okay.
There's somebody that I was like, wow, holy cow. His name is Jim Bramble. And I think he's at EXP. I don't know, he's got a big
Okay.
something. He's like a big shot over there now,
It's a
but
big deal. Yeah.
you'd never know. Anyway, so he would, man, I mean, it's endless. He had hundreds and hundreds of acts of kindness that he would be just be mortified that I was telling anyone, but because he doesn't want anyone to know. But some of it was absolutely crazy stuff, like crazy stuff, like stuff that I would never consider, like donating organs to people you don't know, like money
Cool.
stuff, like crazy amounts of stuff that he considered and or did, and these random hidden acts of kindness. And I watched him for years. I was like, wow, this guy, his compassion is amazing. And I guess I've wanted to be like him in that space ever since, and I'm not at his level, but I hope to be by the time I'm done with, being a leader in the business world. I hope I can be as compassionate and kind um, as Jim Bramble because it makes people want to work for him, and we never forget someone like that.
That we won't tag him, don't worry, but unless you want us to. But yeah, I I love the random acts of kindness you hear about. It's one of my favorite things to look at on social instead of all the other crazy things going on today. Like where you pay for the person ahead of you in line. But it sounds like he's taking that to a whole different level. And
Yeah.
having that as a goal for your life purpose is fulfilling. Um, so I appreciate that. That's probably a super deep lesson for leadership.
Yeah, I needed a car one time. My car went out because I made it was stubborn too, but I liked driving Honda Civics into the ground just to see how long they'll last. And I did, and I don't do it anymore. But I had like these 20-year-old Civics, and because they never die.
They
And
don't.
now, so one of them died, and I was like, oh, it died. And Jim's like, I'll give you my car
Oh,
here. And I'm like, no,
he's
no,
so contained.
you're not giving me your car, but thank you.
Ah, that's so kind. I love
So
that.
it was, he deserves all of the love and kudos he can get because he is just a beautiful soul.
Well, thank you so much for sharing about him. Maybe we could have him on the podcast at some time.
He'd be
Thank
a
you for
great
sharing. Yes, you've actually given me some good ideas for some of our upcoming podcasts. So I really appreciate that. I appreciate you sharing about um, your experience at AdvoCare, your career experience, future goals and advice. we really appreciate you sharing all of that. So that's going to be it for today. And for all of our listeners, thanks so much for tuning in to Momo Talks. Don't forget to subscribe and follow. I am Jerilyn Taylor Passey, and until next time, let's keep the momentum going.
And that's all we've got for you today. Thanks for listening to Momo Talks, and don't forget to keep up to date with Momentum Factor by logging on to momofactor.com, and be on the lookout for our next Momo Talks episode wherever you listen to podcasts.